Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last race of the regular season. This is it to make your final stamp. Will you race for a championship, or are you going to have to watch other drivers go for the hunt? And we are proud to give you all that coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall, as well as Rob Moore Jr., running productions in the background. Tonight is the last race of the regular season for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series, Season 5. Who will be the 12 drivers? Well, we already know 10 are locked in. 9 already based off of wins. 1 based off of points. 2 slots are still unsecured, and we are going to be giving you all that coverage here tonight. Zach, it's crazy to think this season is coming to a close and the playoffs right around the corner, but we have 2 minutes left in practice before we get to qualifying, and it's all comes to here, the wild card of Talladega.
Yeah, if you could pick an ender for the regular season to make it a very interesting one, to say the least, this is probably the place to do it, that or Daytona. So great to see them here tonight at Talladega to close out the regular season, and a lot of drivers coming in here with thoughts about possibly getting that victory to allow themselves to get pushed up into those top 12 standings, because, man, it's just so tight and competitive here throughout the whole entire field that our top 12, I mean, you got guys like Thomas Ogle, Kyle Bowling there on that cut line that are not locked in by any means here tonight. And, you know, they are such top-tier drivers that it's going to be crazy if one of them gets knocked out, because there's some hungry drivers on the outside looking in.
That there are, and we already know, like I said, 9 drivers have already won this season. Those 9 being Cameron Sarton, who's got 3 wins this season. You got Ken Campbell with 2 wins. Ross Tatum's got 2 wins this season. Kyle McCoy, the 3-time champ, has got 2 wins. Then drivers that have sneaked their way through, which is that of Joshua Robinson, Brandon Pierce, Scott Rickard, as well as Jason Gratton. And the last driver to win at a super speedway, it's going to be that of Christopher Wade. Also, with the wins are locked in, and 1 driver's locked in with points. That is Chris Essery. But the other 2, like you noted on there, Zach, it is going to be crazy to see how well Kyle Bowling as well as Thomas Ogle can run, because both drivers have had similar consistencies of being up front, but the amount of wins and you're locked in have shown up. Those 2 drivers with their consistent runs might not be enough, but the drivers just outside looking in. Dylan Grimm, the heartbreak last season. Same scenario. It was Talladega, but he was the 12th driver in points. He got booted out, pushing Derek Offerman, who made it into the playoffs. He might be hoping for himself to be pushed into victory lane, because for all the drivers that are outside looking in, most likely one of them's going to have to win to get in. Otherwise, it's all on Kyle Bowling and Thomas Ogle to stay in our top 12.
That it is. And, you know, the thing about that, too, is Bowling and Ogle, you know, they feel good right now points-wise coming into this race here tonight. But if a driver wins, like we alluded to right there, that is going to make the race between those 2 to decide who's going to be the last driver making it in on those points. And that's where it gets close, because it's only 7 points separating those last 2 drivers in 11th and 12th of Bowling and Ogle. So I tell you, they got to focus on each other, and then also maybe hope that, you know, no one else goes out there and gets a victory, because that'll make it a lot easier on them.
And it all starts now with qualifying. Where do you want to place yourself? Zach, you know, we talk about a lot of other tracks. Track position, usually a key factor we always seem to bring up at almost every track we come to. But tonight, I mean, you've got your decisions. Do you want to be up front or in the back?
Yeah, that's always the best question. And, you know, no stages here at Stars and Stripes, so there's no really reason to be up front too early in these races, in my opinion. So I think you're going to see a few of these guys that are, you know, maybe Kyle Bowling, especially, and Thomas Ogle, who know they just want to survive this race and make sure they get out of here with the most points possible. They may be looking to survive this race right in the back and try to just get out of here, you know, with a solid finish. Well, I think some of the drivers are going to maybe try to stay up front, stay out of the mess in the mix of the pack. So there's a lot of different strategies you can pull out here at Talladega. But one of the biggest things I look at is also this race being 75 laps long. The way the fuel window plays out, being about 35 to 38 laps here, if you're going to need to stretch it to that 38 point if you want to make this race a one-stop race. If you can't do that, then your race could go up in smoke quickly if this thing stays green.
And if you want to save fuel, the best way to do it is stay behind another driver. So for those that are trying to qualify, like we see here on screen, the 44 of Kyle Bowling, who is going to be riding high on his first lap. This is looking like a sign that he might be trying to set himself deep in the middle of the field. As Zach, we've been told that qualifying at super speedways has really changed up from what it used to be in the past.
Yeah, that it has, man. With this next-gen car, it's brought in some new things that drivers have to do. And what you're seeing from Bolin there, he took that first lap, rode all the way around the outside line. That right there is the classic way to qualify at Daytona and Talladega. But it hasn't been the fastest way since this next-gen Gen 7 Cup Series car has came to iRacing here. And really, the biggest thing drivers have found is that very first lap up to speed is the fastest way around and in fourth gear also. So, you got 5 gears normally in this car that you would use, but in qualifying, you're only going to be using 4 because, not in that draft pack, not getting fully up to speed and utilizing that full gear package. So, definitely interesting to see the different changes as, the cars change. But I think the drivers that are going to do that one lap run are going to be the ones that are sitting up top.
As we're seeing that board ticking up and different drivers being on top of it, Andrew Medlin currently the top driver. And with Kyle Bowling, slow first lap, he's going to get a faster one this go around, but is it going to be fast enough to top the board? And it will not be fast enough at all, as the 44 only able to go up that of 2 positions up to 16th. Really, he's going to be searching for more speed. As talking about speed, this 21, Ross Tatum, one of the rookies. This rookie class has been very strong, stronger than what we've seen in the past. I got to say, this 21 looks one of the more comfortable drivers, but he did a very similar thing that we saw from the 44, a much slower first lap. He's on his second. Ross Tatum's got to hope for a major push if he wants to be top of the board.
Yeah, going to try to get that pickup that he needs here to put him up near the top of the board with Andrew Medlin, Kane Campbell, both those drivers doing it on their first lap along with Travis Dart there in the top 3. So that looks to be the way to go. We'll see, can Ross Tatum make it something different out of what he has played out? And it looks like it's going to be a 53.61. So down there in 18th. And just like that, Sam, you're seeing he's around where Kyle Bowling is there in the 22nd position. So that second lap just not producing the lap time. And it's very interesting to see. You would think the momentum will keep building up, but it just seems like that first lap, everything in the car is optimal when it comes to speed-wise.
That it is, as we're seeing here, the 33. That's going to be Brian Burchett. His first lap much slower than others. And another factor for qualifying, drivers trying to stay smooth as possible, as we got 30 seconds left. Andrew Medlin looking like he's in the most comfortable position, but there are still a couple of drivers waiting in the wings on how fast they're going to be. But it looks like it's going to be just a handful of drivers finishing out their qualifying time. 15 seconds left, and the 33 will just get his lap time in. As it comes across the line, going to be 8 seconds left here in qualifying. And that of Brian Burchett, his time clocks in. He got bumps up to 10th place.
Yeah, great job there. Got up to 10th position for Burchett there in the 33 there it is, into the qualifying, and Medlin starting on pole position here, saying that's big for him. He's on the outside looking in for that win.
That it is, as these drivers get ready to race it out. We've got ourselves 2 spots left to be clinched. Who's going to make the playoffs? Well, it's time to find out as we'll take a look at our qualifying results here tonight. As it has been a crazy season, and Andrew Medlin going to be the driver getting the pole here this evening, with that of the 15 of Ken Campbell, one of the favorites to watch out for, going to be in 2nd place. Travis Dart's going to be in 3rd. Thomas Ogle needs a fantastic points day for himself as he comes in 12th. He needs to move up and be ahead of that Kyle Bowling in points. Make sure he's not the driver that could potentially get bumped out. Then our Daytona winner of Christopher Wade going to be in 5th. Cameron Sarton going to be in 6th position. Philip Chavez, one of our drivers that are in a must-win scenario, but has an opportunity, going to be in 7th with Trey Jackson, Patrick Hastings, excuse me, with that as well. Going to be Brian Burchett. Finish out your top 10.
In the 11th position, it's going to be Jason Gratton in the 91. 12th is going to go to Chris Chavez Esri, who's going to lock himself in with points here starting tonight. 13th is going to go to Joshua Robinson. 14th is going to be Dylan Grimm, first driver on the outside looking in from that cut. 15th is going to be our defending champion, Kyle McCoy. 16th is going to go to Aaron Hell. 17th is going to be Scott Rickard. 18th is going to go to Nathan Lynch. 19th is going to be the 54 Andrew Hess. And rounding out the top 20, this Ross Tatum.
Then it's going to be that of Zach Kreitz in 21st, Will Bustler in 22nd place. Doug Pierce is going to be in 23rd with Kyle Bowling, going to be all the way down in 24th position. He's got a long road, but it's going to be a long race to work with that with as well. Brandon Pierce in 25th position. Brian Chu going to be in that of 26. Brian Chu, one of our Floridians that made it through, and he is luckily is okay at this current moment after the hurricane. We hope that his internet and power continues to stay okay for the rest of this race. In 27th is going to be George Kovasic, as well as Dylan Glass down there in 28th. Derek Offerman, the winner from this race last year that found himself getting pushed into the playoffs. Will the magic strike again for the 20 machine? Will it be not? As 30th is going to be Timmy McNally and Sam Siegel finishing out our 31 drivers here this evening as we are set, ready to go. We're rolling, about to hit the backstretch. And Zach, tonight the pressure is on way more than what we've seen at other tracks, but a little bit of a difference. We saw at Daytona how it was such a dominant push between that of Ken Campbell and Christopher Wade. I think the one thing I love about Talladega, it's not as narrow as Daytona. Allows the drivers to have a little bit more leeway on how they want to attack.
Yeah, you brought up Ken Campbell and Christopher Wade. I think those are the two names that people should have circled here tonight. If you're going to be looking to go to the front and stay to the front and make speed, get together with that 15 and that 53. They just seem to have some type of magic chemistry when it comes to this race style here at these super speedways throughout Stars and Stripes. Really, it doesn't matter the car. I mean, they did it in the Gen 6 last season, and this season back here with the Gen 7, they produced very, very well at Daytona. So I expect big things from those two, but we're going to have some hungry drivers out there because those two are locked in. They don't have too much on the line, so they're going to be probably going for it. But the drivers out there who have all that on the line, they're going to be going for it just that little bit more because they know tonight is their last chance if they want to go fight for a championship here in this Gen 7 Cup car.
Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep up with this during the whole entire races. We got our real calculators locked on to who's the driver that needs to win here tonight. But there has been also a sponsorship placed into today's race. The team with the best 3 drivers finishing at the end of this race will find the team collecting $100. Kind of similar to the way that the season started out here, Zach, with the duels. Well, now they're going to, with the clash, drivers now tonight have a chance for cash as well on top of trying to make it into the playoffs. As the pace car goes off, it's time to see who's making it to the playoffs, who's making the final push. It's time to put it all on the line here for Super Speedway Racing as we are green for the Talladega 200.
75 laps here at Talladega Super Speedway, all to just decide who are going to be our 12 playoff drivers coming in here tonight. We got 10 of them figured out, but the 11th and 12th spot still need to be figured out. But lap 1 here looking good already here at Talladega.
Talladega, it's so massive. You can go 3-4 wide at times, and drivers usually like to stay 2 wide at the most times. But Zach, you got to see kind of a preview last night as already that Travis Dart goes the high line trying to make the pass for the lead. But a preview last night as here at Freaking Fast Broadcasting, watching the Wicked Racing League on kind of what we could be seeing here this evening.
Yeah, definitely got a great preview of that last night here, man. And I tell you what I've seen from that is the grooves are really interesting here. The bottom line, normally the dominant way around when it comes to Daytona and Talladega. But last night, preferably, I think most drivers were preferring that upper to second to third groove. A lot of guys even tried to venture up there and make the whole pack go up there. As right now, we're just two by two right here throughout the whole entire field. But the one thing I noticed from last night, that outside groove seems very, very powerful. And the pushes, the energy that these guys can build up is just going to be immense here. I think we're going to see that all night long.
We talked about trying to avoid getting some drivers in line. Well, Christopher Wade as well as that of Ken Campbell, they're trying their best to get in line. And now there's just one driver in between them. You got Ken Campbell leading this inside row. We're on board with Christopher Wade. And it's Andrew Medlin stuck in between that sandwich of Storm Motorsports Racing. Again, team aspect's going to be the key of talking about tonight. Find your friends, avoid your rivals, and hope that you can find yourself up front at the end of the day as we're on to lap number 3, as well as these drivers. I mean, on top of this being the last race of the regular season, here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, this is a complete setup of the rest of the month. Drivers getting prepared and all of our leagues as they're all coming together. at the end of the regular season. This is just the first of many that we're going to be covering here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a playoff bonanza here soon, here pretty fast. I mean, luckily Stars and Stripes, they get the honor to kick it all off here next week. But tonight is going to be a big moment for somebody. They got a chance, a very vital chance here too, because, drivers go to many different tracks. As you see Tatum up there actually way up high in that third lane all by himself. Kind of interesting to see him up there. But, we go to tracks like, Atlanta, where you have opportunities similar to this place. But that's really the only other place in Daytona that you get these opportunities of, making something out of nothing. And here tonight, somebody's going to have that for sure chance here at Talladega.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's a wild strategy that can place you in an optimal position to try to make a gutsy call to win a race, or you come to these super speedways where drivers are starting to show signs of trying to flirt at 3 wide. I think a lot of it could be happening further on back because drivers are trying to get to the end of the line and stay out of trouble. But up front, as we're riding on board with the 33, getting a sense of what it's like to be on board with these cars. And Zach, the visibility, always a factor that's talked about when you come to a super speedway race.
That it is. You got to really follow that car up ahead of you, and that's where sometimes you'll get in trouble. If you follow the car and you're not clear of a car around your inside or outside of you, you can get into trouble there. But you can see riding on board here with Brian Barchett, he can really only see Kyle McCoy, and then when the car's ducked left or right, you can get a slight glimpse, but nothing really able to see from here. And it's even worse on the bottom. When you get stuck down there on the bottom, you really can't see nothing to your outside or up ahead of you. You're kind of just at the mercy of the pack. So when you're that third or fourth car down there on the bottom, it's very, very tough to see.
And on top of that, you have to trust if you've got an actual spotter in and watching overhead and telling you the information, they can tell you when to check up. That's going to be a big factor that's talked about throughout the night with drivers of check up because the drivers in front of us are starting to slow down in the entry of the corners. And if you don't have a spotter telling you that, you can find yourself in trouble. As Thomas Ogle going to be trying to make it 3 wide. He's going to have that Kyle McCoy duck into the high lane, and didn't take long. Lap 6, let's go 3 wide, 3 rows deep.
Yeah, it was Ogle made the big move to the outside of Travis Darton. They were leading the way, but look at this, stacking up, Sarton there, wiggling back and forth, and this almost was a major moment there. Luckily, everybody hangs on to their machines there, as I believe that was S3 also, the one all over the back bumper of his teammate Sarton.
And drivers notified to us felt like you could really start bump drafting drivers, which kind of was a scare for months with the old package that the drivers were running. With this new package, you can certainly give drivers taps, but still, the rules of don't bump the driver in front of you in the corner still is very important. As we saw there, the teammates almost wiping each other out. Now going to be breaking up these packs. And we got our front 4 that are all in line. And then the second pack that we see on our screen, they're closing in quickly.
That they are. They're trying to build some momentum up here on this upper groove, and Hasty there in that 9 machine all over the back bumper of Wade, and that got them broke up a little bit now as it's just the front 3 all stacked up together. But this top groove here is 5 cars deep, and they're all nose to tail, and that is how you generate energy. If you have a car length or a half a car length in between you and the car up ahead, you're not really pushing them. You got to be right up to that back bumper, almost within a quarter of car length of that car ahead of you to really give any type of shove with the air.
It's so on top of how these drivers are running around one another. We touched on it. The fuel runs for these drivers. They can stretch it to 1 pit stop here tonight if we stay green. But the knowledge of when will the big one strike? It always, when you come to a super speedway, a wreck that's going to collect 6 or more drivers, always looming over every driver's mind. And while you see some 3 wide are at the current moment, drivers behind these drivers are 3 wide. Probably thinking, oh, let's back off. This doesn't look like this is going to survive very long if they get too racy.
Yeah, they've definitely been pretty racy. And Talladega kind of opens up the door more for this 3 wide racing. It still is very, very dangerous. And at times, this early in the race could be a little bit sketchy, as some would say. But it's personally, this track suits it more than Daytona. Daytona is a little bit more scary when it comes to that 3 wide action, but here at Talladega, plenty of space to operate. And right now, everybody here at the Stars and Stripes League doing a great job through the first 8 laps here at this super speedway.
As we are 8 laps in, it's going to be still Travis Dart up front. But Cameron Sarton, after the scare they had after a tap from his teammate, able to keep himself up front as drivers are all in line side by side, except for 2. 2 drivers are not technically attached to this lead pack, and that's actually going to be Sam Siegel and Tim McNally that are 12.5 seconds back from our leader. And Zach, that certainly is a strategy that you can throw out of trying to stay away from the, chaos. As there it is. It's going to be Jason Grattan on the apron as they're surviving 3 wide for now, but a tad bit of a scare as the 91 is going to be losing traction and will be on the apron, falling all the way back to the end of the line.
What a save by Jason. That could have been major calamity throughout the middle portion of the field. And you can see this. Look at this middle line leading the way. But it's kind of an interesting predicament here. That middle line is being very strong. The outside line's got Offerman up top there with another car. But the bottom line also fighting back too. So we got a 3-wide action while it looks like 4 cars broken away here in the middle lane.
And this middle lane has so much more momentum due to the fact of the draft. More cars that are in line, the less aero drag that you're going to have, the more speed you can build up. That's why that middle lane is holding as strong as they are. And now more drivers starting to trickle to the higher lane. But Derek Offerman is leading the pack.
And this is something I'm not very surprised to see here this early into the race. Kind of similar to what I saw last night there at the Wicked Racing League with their Talladega Super Speedway race. It was very similar. The upper grooves looked to be very good, and at times people went all the way to the wall and tried to do what we see kind of in the NASCAR races. Oh, they're getting big moments as Kyle McCoy's in the outside wall back behind this group, and he's slowing way down the 7, holding on to that machine. Scott Rickard also getting caught up in that.
And also Christopher Wade, and that all started around the 4 machine of Aaron Hale. He brushed the wall, spooked the 7, and from there on out, that was something I was just going to touch on. If you're on that outside lane, you can easily just misjudge one little aspect of the corner and find yourself in that outside wall. That's exactly what we just saw there as Wade's trying to build his speed back up, and looks like he will not lose the draft just yet.
Well, he's going to have to try to hope to hold on here. This next-gen car does seem to pull up pretty nicely when you got a tow, but that big a momentum loss, he may be in trouble here as he slowly drifts back. And his biggest hope now is to hold on to this group, because if not, he's going to need to get back with that group behind him. But up front, Cameron Sarton, he's charged to the lead at the 3-wide move. Is, man, all 3 lanes just being utilized for that.
It really is, and this is something that I wasn't expecting at all. And based on what we're seeing, this type of driving and racing, I would say, Zach, these drivers are feeling pretty confident on their fuel, or they're all saying, we're going to turn this race into a 2-stop. 1 stop for sure at lap 35 to 38, and then we'll see if we have to come in again after that.
Yeah, we'll have to see for sure. And, as a driver myself, I usually try to save that fuel in the first run just to, if you could save an extra lap here, go to lap 39, that would make it a lot easier on you later in this race. You would only have to go 36 laps instead of a total of 37, and it'd make it a lot easier for you when coming back around. But right now, I think everybody's getting in the mix, and they're trying to race it out right now. The interesting thing, too, is they're seeing people really committing to the outside line. I think they're really finding out that it's good. As Travis starting 27, we just saw there for a moment. He got up into the outside wall. Luckily, everybody gets by him as he's just getting out of the wall now.
And that of the 12 with Medlin stuck in the sucker hole. That's traditionally what the middle lane looks like, is you just lose all the momentum and go backwards. We'll see if they can mount another charge as Scott Rickard and Kyle McCoy, the 2 champs, they are slicing and dicing and playing a little bit of do-si-do out there on track, because they do not want to play nice with one another and do not want to follow in line anymore after the contact they had on the outside wall. And now we're starting to see the signs. The drivers up front, Derek Offerman, Trey Jackson, Will Bustler. All 3 of those drivers are going to be up in positions, and it's going to be Derek Offerman up the most, up 28 spots from where he started.
Yeah, he's really been moving, man. And Derek Offerman trying to pull off a little bit of deja vu here and do what he did last season, win Talladega to get himself into those playoffs. And, I wouldn't put it past him. He's looking to be already strong right now in that 20 machine, but he's going to have a long way to go here, and a lot of hungry drivers behind him who are very willing to take it 3 wide here at any moment. Is that outside line being led by Dylan Grimm, that first driver on the outside looking in. He's looking to charge his way up there and say, no, sir, I want to take that top spot.
And Dylan Grimm last season, when they were running in that Gen 6 Cup car, he was so good at pushing drivers. Now being the lead on that middle lane, see how much that 23 can make a charge. But the one driver, I got to say, there's always those 2 to 3 drivers that you can just tell out on track. They're struggling to hold a line. They're wiggling a little bit more, maybe focusing on the back bumper of the driver in front of them just a little bit too much. And I gotta say, the 4 of Aaron Hale just does not look comfortable out there on track.
Yeah, and there's some nights where I've came to a super speedway before where it just doesn't feel comfortable to yourself. And as a driver, we do have a little bit of options there with our steering pinion, with our rack and pinion steering that we have now in these Gen 7 Cup Series cars, and you can change that up to try to slow the steering up so it's not as reactive when you move that wheel. I'm personally a driver that likes a little bit more reactive wheel here at these plate tracks where you got to be a little bit aggressive, but some drivers need to utilize a little bit slower box, in my opinion, to just clean up a little bit of that erratic behavior. But right now, Aaron Hill looking to move forward, even though it's having some troubles keeping that car straight.
Top 3, you see him on our ticker. That of Derek Hoffman, Trey Jackson, Dylan Grimm, all drivers outside looking in to the playoff picture, and all 3 of them are in must-win scenarios if they want to move on to the playoffs. And what's frustrating is there's only one position where you can win and you're going to move in, and so all 3 of these drivers are going to fight and claw. But we're still in the early goings here on lap 16, 17 when they come across the line, and you never know when a yellow flag can come out. But if you are going to see a yellow flag, there's one device that can give you that clear indication immediately, and that's an iRacing iFlag virtual flag system, as well as at iFlag, iRacing iFlag. They've got plenty of other great products that you can find yourself with. And if you'd like to go get yourself an iRacing iFlag product, go to iRacingIFlag.com and use our promo code FreakyFast2022. It's all one together. That's FreakyFast2022 to make sure that you can get your best products for yourself. And you see it on screen as well. As the drivers race around, a yellow always looming. But if you want to make sure you've got that clear, concise information, they can give that to you. As up front, still Dylan Graham, Andrew Medlin. Now Scott Rickard's going to be up to 3rd. That's 0-5. Looking aggressive, and sometimes that aggressiveness can backfire in an instant, Zach, but that also could be the aggressiveness you need to find yourself in a victory lane. As Karen Sarton almost set up to the wall.
Oh, that was close. Like you said, you brought up Scott Rickard's aggressiveness. He looked to cover off that move from Sarton, but just couldn't do it. Looked to get back to the middle lane, and luckily did, and no contact made. But Sarton here charging to that outside, going to try to take the lead, and will do it with the help of his teammate up there with Chris Esser. And they're going to have also that 8 machine of Philip Chavez right in behind, and they're going to be working to try to get Philip into this playoffs also.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your choices of who you're trying to help, and it always seems like when you get to these aspects of the season, when it's a Talladega or Daytona race, and during the regular season, you're trying to help that teammate out. Maybe they've been struggling, having some poor luck, and that's what Philip Chavez has had for most of the season. That 8 is going to need some help, though, at the end of the night if he wants to find himself in victory lane and having a berth into the playoffs, as everyone's fanning out through the tri-oval. And we talk about this track, Zach, the draft, how wide it is, but the weird thing with the setup, and especially with these cars, the loose sensation, that is something these drivers are going to be dealing with a lot here tonight. It just feels like this car, like most tracks, randomly will want to snap on you on the exit of these corners as well through the trials.
Yeah, we got word of that from a few drivers that they were feeling that coming out of turn 2 and turn 4 there tonight. So those exit of the corners, the rear end stepping out, and it seems to be happening as the run goes on, and that's not surprising. The tire wear here at Talladega can be a factor. We don't talk about it too many times, but tire wear can be a factor, and especially when you're out here racing in the daytime like this at 121 degrees out there on the track. So a very hot, slick track, that's only going to make those conditions much more worse.
Well, as we're running here this evening, we're going to step aside real quick as we are watching the Stars and Stripes Cup Series here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's the Talladega 200, the final race of the regular season. Who will make the playoffs? Well, we'll give you all the coverage from here on out, but you won't miss a thing as we're going to go side by side, and you will see our drivers. If a caution comes out, we'll be right back. We'll see you in just a few. wrecking. They're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the double zero.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my. The 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, the wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 get into the 18. That leaves 3 of CJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of CJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
He went second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. Oh no, and away they go. It's going to be that of the 9. Patrick Hastings spinning around, bringing our first yellow out just as we were coming back from our commercial break. And our first incident strikes here tonight. Again, welcome back to Freaking Fast Broadcasting. As my name is Sam Dyer, with me is Zach Paul, and as well, Rob Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. Zach, we're seeing drivers get loose under commercial break. We were talking about it. It looks like we might see our first caution because of it.
Yeah, we were talking about it here right under that commercial break, talking about how it was starting to look like that, and from there, looks like it all started with Bowling. It looked like Bowling kind of got a little bit checked up, went to the inside there, the 9 did, and from there, Bowling came down into him, and Hasty goes for a wild ride there on the back straightaway.
And for that of Kyle Bowling, he really cannot afford to have these types of incidents strike and see other drivers slicing on by. But I believe the 44 was having some internet issues for himself. And that's the main reason why there was really a lot of confusion on where Patrick Hastings was going to go. I think he went down low, expecting the 44 to be out of the way because of how much he was blinking. Wasn't, showed up, and there goes the first caution of the day. And Zach, that caution does not line up for the drivers that were hoping to turn this race into a one-stop. Now drivers got to rethink their whole entire strategy.
Yeah, this changes things up big time. So now this adds in a quick stop, as they would say later in this race. So we'll see everybody, I'd imagine, come down here. Probably want to get 4 tires and fuel. We started seeing that loose condition start to kick in, and
Sam Siegel is sideways. He had issues trying to slow down. I saw the driver get kinked out completely perpendicular with other drivers. It looks like he might have just locked up his brakes while trying to slow down to enter pit road with everyone else. 48 already going to have to use his first fast repair, which drivers were given 1 fast repair. That's a change from what we traditionally see here in this league. Super speedways, road courses, drivers have the ability to use their fast repair, as everywhere else they are not given one. Is 4 tires and fuel, and away they go. See the 12 and the 8 battling it out to see who's going to get that 7th place position, but Cameron Sarton, the 94 Mickey Mouse machine, will be taking that lead after pit stops are done.
I like the call from everybody here. 4 tires, fuel all around for their cars, and that's smart right here. You want to pack this car as much fuel as you possibly can. Get those tires on there, because later in this race, we now know we can't, that didn't come at the right time to where we can get to the end of the race with this stop. We know we're going to at least stop one more time, but it's going to have to be a quick stop, in my opinion. We're only about 10 laps short of making it to the end of this race. And really, if you save some, about 8 laps short. So, it could be a really quick stop here, or we could get a caution that throws, the wrench and everything. But we'll see how it shakes out. I think a lot of drivers are going to be planning for something to work out here, and maybe even an early stop here. You can see drivers pit as soon as they can make it. We've seen that happen here at super speedways and places where you can get out and get by yourself and run those good times.
Well, that's what I was thinking, was maybe not do a late quick stop, but find yourself splitting this stint in half. You can make it 1 stop from here on out. So, potentially think around lap 50. That could be the marker for some drivers, or 53. come in with, your teammates, so at least 3 to 4 drivers, maybe someone else added to make 5, and you can put down times pretty similar to our leaders if they're in a full pack. Might want to around that of 6 to 7 to have a good margin of speed to work with, but that's asking for allies that you got to trust if they're all going to come into pit road with you.
And this caution really helped Timmy McNally. I know Sam Siegel, he was back there with Timmy McNally after his incident there getting on the pit road. We'll have to see how his cars all shook out and maybe had to took the fast repair there for him. But yeah, definitely Timmy McNally and Sam, glad that they can get back up here onto the back and hopefully stay in the draft this time, because that's a tough thing when you're at a place like this. You're kind of just, you're pretty much sitting back there hoping for any type of help with a yellow flag to get you back in the race, because you're just a sitting duck when you have 2 cars there. You're just going to be slowly at some point lapped when the leaders come back around.
It's going to be 45 laps to go here this evening once we get back to the stripe. And for updates of drivers that had us be in pit road for an extended time, Sam Siegel not going to be using a fast repair. Kyle McCoy, though, extended damage for the 7. He'll start all the way back in 31st position as he was in pit road for over that of 2 minutes. And there were quite a few of other drivers that had some dings that they had to get repairs for. Scott Rickard, Patrick Hastings, also Kyle Bowling, Zach Kreitz, as well as Doug Pierce, all having to get their damage repair. And for that is Sam Siegel as well for the 44. Did not use their fast repairs, which I like that call. If you don't have to use it, don't use it, especially here at super speedways.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You want to have that always in your back pocket to have a mulligan, as they would say here, and make sure you always got that backup. But yeah, I liked also the damage repair on like Kyle McCoy, Scott Ricker, those guys taking the time to do that, because we've seen with this new damage model updates that iRacing's been bringing to this next gen car, that fatigue is a real thing. And if you go out there and get into that wall another time and have that same amount of damage you had before, it could easily break those toe links, as we've talked about with this next gen car. So you don't want to have that happen, especially at a place like Talladega. If you break something like that, you're going to have a heavy hit down into the next corner. So drivers looking to get those things fixed up, and we're going to look to get them back going green here. It's going to be starting out front.
Well, our first caution of the day is in the books. It's time to have our first restart on how that of Cameron Sarton and Ken Campbell are going to take off here. As well as going to have that of Chris Essery up to 3rd, that of Nate Lynch 4th, Will Bustler 5th, 6th going to be Dylan Grimm, as well as Philip Chavez, Andrew Medlin, Derek Offerman, Brian Burchett, going to be those top 10 drivers. As the 2 that are on our minds to watch out for, Thomas Ogle, Kyle Bowling. How well are they going to be able to move their way forward? As Ogle's going to be in 15th, and that of Bowling's going to be in 26th, giving Thomas Ogle the advantage to move up to 11th in points. Still looming. We got plenty of drivers in a must-win scenario, as this is the last race of the regular season, and Sarton leading that outside lane, but here comes Bustler.
Bustler, one of those drivers looking for a victory. He's going to charge up to the inside. Right now, doesn't have King Campbell in the 15 up to the back bumper, so they're not going to have the momentum they need. But the top side up there with Chavez, Essery, and also Philip Chavez and Cameron Sarton making good time, but that inside line looking to make the momentum now.
And that inside lane going to be seeing how well Will Bustler and Ken Campbell are going to work with one another. Still waiting for the teammates, Ken Campbell and Christopher Way, to get in line. That was a talking point from last week when we were having interviews of how will you react if you see those 2 drivers get in line, because we saw their dominancy at that of Daytona in the beginning of the season, and it strike once again as we've got teammates up front, Cameron Sarton, Chris Essery, and that's beauty to see when you're up front.
Yeah, that's beauty to see for sure, but they lost their 3rd teammate, and that's Philip Chavez there, and he's fallen back into the middle there with Offerman up to the top side with Trey Jackson in the 31, but now you can see it's a 3-wide log jam from about the 5th position on back, as everybody's looking to find the pace. Now the leader's going to jump up to the top, and the big run coming from that top from the 20.
As they're going to be seeing that outside lane struggling, the inside lane gets rolling, and you can just see the complete speed difference of when you have that drivers ahead really having to check up, the accordion effect of hurting drivers, everyone trying to find openings to get in line, as it's going to be Will Bustler and others all set up and rolling forward. We talked about Thomas Ogle back at 15th. It's so easy to flip-flop from being all the way back to the end of the line to being up front, as that 83 machine in the pink and white seat down low is inside of our top 15. I'm trying to crack the top 10.
Yeah, 7 points coming in here tonight between him and Kyle Bowling, and right now those two still mired back in the mid portion of this field and gonna have to try to do their best to make it through, because if a driver goes out there like Will Bustle leading right now and wins, it's going to be a battle between those two when it comes down to the points. Right now, Ogle, I think, would technically be far enough ahead of that 44 to be able to get that spot.
Yeah, at this current moment, he is far enough to take that position and be able to find themselves being in that 11th place position. Now, for that of Kyle Bowling and Thomas Ogle, they're both inside of our top 12 in points. The next closest driver in points was that of Dylan Grimm, but not enough drivers have shown up here this evening for him to point his way into the next round. So Dylan Grimm's in a must-win scenario, meaning that if you're 12th in points, you are on the line of being pushed out of the playoffs.
That you are, and if you're at Talladega, that's where the nerves kick in. But Thomas Ogle here, he's been solid all season. He just hasn't got that victory. And, you know, that's going to be something maybe that comes back to bite him here if someone goes out there and wins and Kyle Bowling does point his way in over him. But you never know here, man. He's just got to race out his race right here and see how it all shakes out. But right now, 2 lanes being dominant, but that 3rd lane starting to try to form up is Christopher Wade in the 53. He's trying to make some time. He's got his teammate Ross Tatum up there. Those two really doing a great job all by themselves.
Yeah, and the driver there trying to get attached to is that yellow machine. I mean, got to be that of Ken Campbell, on the inside. He is going to be trying his best to make the charge forward, as he is stuck behind following Will Bustler. And when you're that second car in line, Zach, I mean, all you can do is just trust that you've got enough power to push the driver in front of you to be the fastest one out.
Yeah, you got to be smooth, and it also helps when the driver ahead of you is smooth. You know, people a lot of times think it's all about the pusher. Well, the person out front has to cut that air, and if you don't cut the air well and you move all over the place, it's tough to push somebody. So it's been done a good job by Will Bustler right here to lead the way, but right now, 3 lanes are starting to group up as that outside lane gets a few more cars built up, and they're trying to make something happen. But that middle lane also having some good momentum. So right here, the beauty of Talladega right now, I think tonight, has been all 3 lanes have worked.
Oh, and Cameron Sartin, a huge wiggle for the 94 on the entry of the corner. Now he's going to have to reset, get a good run. But here comes that outside lane. And the most that we've seen 3 wide action has been about 3 rows deep. Well, let's try and make it 5 as drivers up front risking it for everything. And they can at this moment. That's the beauty of these drivers having a fast repair. It allows drivers to feel a lot more aggressive and willing to try these very abrasive and massive changing moves that you could, if they didn't have a fast repair, would be a race-ending type of aggressive driving we see right now.
Yeah, no, that's a very great point, Sam. I think a lot of moves being made wouldn't be made if they didn't have that. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's making the racing pretty interesting as you see the squeeze there from Kovacic up to Ross Tatum there along with Wade, as that got real close on the entry there with Sartin leading the way. And it's just not been working, though. With Leslie pushing Sartin up ahead, he's just been getting the bumps that have really been upsetting that car, and the top move has not been going forward. They've been dropping backwards.
It seems like the bumps are a little bit late. When he's getting tapped, it's right when the 94 decides to turn, which gets getting him loose and just not feeling that comfortable. And that's kind of the timing that's so difficult, is when you're that driver in the back, you're always trying to predict, or is this the best time to give a tap or a bump? As you're always flirting with the throttle, you're trying to stay 100% full throttle and pushing the driver in front of you, but you can't do that for very long, especially in the fact that you're always looking at your water and oil temp.
That you are. That water and oil temp is so valuable to that motor. If you push those over the limit, you will be done for. And I tell you, it only takes about a lap to a lap and a half of good solid pushing for that water temperature to overheat, and you can quickly damage that motor. But a lot of heavy pushing still going on. Will Bustler out front, that top lane. They keep, man, the big thing I'm seeing from the middle lane is they keep getting decide, do they want to stay in the 3rd lane? Do they want to go to the middle lane? Every time the 3rd lane does get a run, they go up to try to take it, then they lose the run and drop back down to the middle. So I think really those guys in the middle, they've been undecisive on where they want to go.
I mean, also you got to think that that's really coming from Cameron Sorton and that team on how they want to be battling with one another. Is, they're trying to defend the best that they can as just fly on by, just showing how fast these drivers are going. 190 miles per hour they are going, as get to see what it's like to be in the driver cam. Here's our Andrew Medlin cam as he's leading that middle groove on where they want to go. And Zach, we always talk about Andrew Medlin. He's always our driver cam that we have each and every week. And he's got his triple monitors. They're going to help him out a lot, but the focus certainly there. But a lot of it is looking through the mirrors and also what's next to you.
Yeah, definitely an awesome shot we get to see here with his driver cam. And tonight, so important for this 12 machine. If he wants to get into the playoffs, this is his chance, and he would be a threat. He's been talking about all of this season long about how he's been learning this next gen car, getting used to it, and trying to figure it out. And man, if he can figure it out at the right time, make these playoffs, he could be a threat for a championship.
Always, the whole entire league, I really feel like it has been a learning lesson each and every season. They've had 5 seasons so far. Each season, it's been a different car that they've ran. The first season, they were in ARCA machines. Then, second season, they were in trucks. Third, they moved up to the Xfinity. Then last season, we were in those of the Gen 6 Cup car. There was a vote. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go back to the ARCAs? Do we want to move forward in the Gen 7 Cup machines? They voted for the Gen 7s. And it's been putting on a show as we've had 9 different winners this season out of our 15 races. And tonight could be giving us that of 10 different winners.
It's so cool to see them use a different car each and every season, and still yet to know what car they'll be looking to use in the next upcoming season. But man, I can tell you, this car has definitely put on a show, and it's been super competitive. I think that's one of the things that shows how these guys have been learning. And certain guys picking it up at different times, and it's just really been interesting to watch all season long. But look at this, Derek Hoffman. He thought about it for a moment. I thought about going through the middle there with Dylan Grimm, but he's going to stay right there in front of Trey Jackson in that 31. They're going to hold that middle groove. But Sarton Esri and Chavez and Philip Chavez, those 3 have just been very good about working that middle groove.
And it always seems like if Philip Chavez is keeping himself close, then those 3 drivers are looking pretty dominant. It's all on the 8 on how that momentum truly is going to work with one another. And he has been bouncing around a lot. And that's giving me some concern, because if those 2 drivers of Sarton and Esri are so consistent on how they're running, they've been trying to figure out that timing of giving a bump or not, while the 8 is just struggling to figure out how to keep himself close to those drivers without causing a wreck. Is almost a little bit of bumping the bumper action going on.
Yeah, a little bit wiggly there for the 8 machine as the 23 all over the back bumper heading down to the corner. Dylan Grimm also looking for that win, as there's so many drivers right in this position that could win and get themselves into the playoffs. And that 8 machine, they're going to be looking to help him with Sarton and them, but it's going to be tough getting somebody out in front of you. That's one of the things that's always hard to organize yourself, is you live for one moment, try to organize yourself to put someone else in front of you. It can very well give up a bunch of spots. So later in this race, they'll maybe try to organize himself to get that 8 machine out front. We'll have to see. But right now, King Campbell, he's got the help of Andrew Medlin down low, and he's looking to get out front for the first possible time.
He's going to try his best to get up front, and he'll be just lying there in the inside lane as the middle groove. Still, so much speed there for Cameron Sarton, feeling comfortable for himself. But the third lane, you see Derek Offerman moving up. Kyle McCoy moves up. And once again, Grimm in that middle lane just do kind of what we call a lazy block, just slightly moving up into that third option and really slowing down the momentum they all had.
And Tatum crosses back over to the top side, and he goes to the top 3 wide. Now it's going to be the 3 up front looking to move from that middle lane to stop the momentum. And that's the big thing I'm noticing for that middle lane. Anytime they see that top lane come, they try to go up, steal the momentum from, and then drop back to the middle. And it kind of stops any progress from that middle lane. Lou Tatum trying to fake them out here in the 21, maybe make them think twice, but can't make it work there as they still hold on to the position. And what great teamwork from those 3 out front.
And the weak part of this 3 train that we're seeing up front has been Philip Chavez, and Ross Tatum has been ducking and weaving, trying to figure out how to break up this group. And now Ross Tatum's going to see a little bit of familiarity behind him as teammates now going to be in line for the 21 and 15.
Big pushes coming all around this racetrack. Everybody seems like they're getting a little bit more amped up, as right now it's almost going to be 3 wide for the lead. Sarton up top, blocking that top lane. It's going to be a stack up, though, as hell into the back of the 20, and he gets it to the wall. Almost deja vu for Kyle McCoy.
And I don't know how they backed off and didn't wreck one another, especially with Aaron Hill being so close to the 20's back bumper and McCoy there. But a lot of give, not so much take. In that one blink of a moment, we keep ourselves stacked up, and now it's Ross Tatum, Ken Campbell. They've got to figure out how to get themselves back up to speed, because here comes the run from the middle.
That middle lane always just seems to fight back, and it's all coming from that number 10 machine and that 94. Those two have been hooked just pretty much nose to tail for this whole entire run, and they've been keeping it solid. But right now, Ross Tatum in the 21 out front with Ken Campbell, his teammate right behind him, have been able to keep it in control, but that middle lane looks to fight back. And, you know, for Derek Hoffman and Aaron Hill back there up still in that top lane, tough break for them. They had the big run coming. Cameron Sarton covers it off, and then from there, it just kind of, you know, takes away all their momentum.
And also, here comes the second pack. From 20th on back, they dropped away. They saw a lot of 3 wide action. They didn't like what they were seeing. Well, they are coming back with a vengeance, being led by Thomas Ogle. And that pink machine, he's trying to make some surges forward. And at the same time, with the fact that we are starting to see a little bit of dispersing, drivers going 2 by 2, no longer 3 wide as much, as Patrick Hastings going to stay high, and drivers have to get by the lap car. Drivers got to be starting to think. Pit road is open. You can make it from here. And if you come into pit road, you most likely won't go a lap down if you come in with a group and you have a clean pit stop together.
Yeah, clean pit stops and coming in with a group, you'll get out of here and stay on that lead lap. And if a caution was to come out then, you would cycle to the lead while everybody else hits pit road. So I think it's a valuable strategy if you have the numbers. That's the question. Do you have them? And the door is open for that strategy. Let's see if anybody kicks that door open. But right now, still 2 wide up front, but it's starting to get 3 wide with that second pack, like you said, Sam, coming up into it. As they didn't like what they saw before, they might be thinking the same thing here now.
Well, looks to be Tim McNally, Derek Offerman. They were thinking about trying to make the surge on the outside to go 3 wide, as you see here of Andrew Hess. Hess in the 54, one of those drivers in a must-win scenario. Had so many good runs this season. He comes in tonight 15th in points, but it's going to be a win if he wants to get in, as you can just feel the claustrophobic feeling of the drivers on the outside, 3 wide, and there's not much you can do. But Kyle McCoy by himself, still somehow holding on for as long as he was. Now the 7 will start to fall back as you're right on board with that of Nate Lynch in the 25.
Yeah, just pretty much got pushed out of line and left out to dry, as he's going to drop all the way back to the back of that group. But right here, riding on board with Nate Lynch behind Will Bustler, 2 drivers right here that have, had, decent seasons, but just haven't been able to put it all together, man. Weren't able to get what they needed to get into the playoffs, but tonight still is that opportunity for both these drivers to get in here with a win.
And as we are past halfway, drivers are getting the frisky. We're about to be thinking about pit stops. That outside lane still looking good, but Zach, it's the teamwork aspect that we're seeing from that Cameron Sarton, as well as Essery Chavez on the outside lane. Then it's the teammates on the inside, seeing the 21 of Ross Tatum and the 15 of Ken Campbell trying to work together. But everyone else behind them, still, it feels like the wild, wild west of who can you even trust, as drivers trying all different lanes and positionings, as that outside lane gets a surge, and we're about to see 3 wide once again up front.
Yeah, the outside lane always seems to be surging. His old big moment there up ahead as the 10 machine gets the bump from the 8. Somehow hangs on to it, does Essery, as Chavez slides in behind the 94 now on the inside line. But that could have been a big moment there. But Chris Essery holds on to that machine.
Talked about trying not to push the pusher, and I think that might have been exactly what just happened there. And you can't really lose the momentum. You got to keep on moving forward. And Philip Chavez, that might have been his one opportunity. Try to at least move up to second in line for his teammates, because you already know Essery's locked in on points. That Cameron Sarton's already locked in based off his wins. Now it's on to the 8. If he wants to find himself into the playoffs, he's got to be the leader of this race at the end of this one, and we still have one more pit stop to go.
And man, oh man, look at the run from the top. The 20 machine of Derek Offerman getting the shove from the 4 Aaron Hell. They're going to almost pull even here with the 94s. It's going to be a 3-wide race for the lead. Aaron Hell up top pushing the 20 of Derek Offerman. They got Kyle McCoy and Trey Jackson up top there. That top lane is rolling.
And Aaron Hale just seems like that outside lane is his comfort spot. He's tapped the wall a couple of times, but who cares if he's finding the speed as Offerman and others take off. Sarnessery, they're bobbling. They go to the inside, and McCoy, the 3-time champ, he wants the lead now as they'll fall in line for second.
Yeah, fall in line there is Offerman. He saw the move from McCoy. He covered it off, went to the bottom lane to get in front of the 7. Now the 4 going to have decisions since he's got Medlin, but Jackson still up top. He's got Wade there in the 53. And from what they just showed, that top 3rd lane can build up some big momentum. So we will be looking for drivers maybe to make that move happen again. But now it's going to be that 4 looking to get up high, but I think he's going to duck back in line. No, he's undecisive. He's in the middle of both lanes.
And here we go. Pit stops underway. Ducking into pit road. It's going to be the drivers that were dominating this thing. It's Travis Dart as well. Going to be that Cameron Sarton in the grass, the cone. Oh no, don't get caught with a penalty now.
Travis Dart, black flag there on the entry of pit road. That is an unsafe entry, and he is going to have a penalty. No other driver getting a black flag, but man, that is tough for the 27 machine. But him and Cameron Sarton make contact on pit road while we watch this group up front here.
Cannot make mistakes, and also behind in this lead pack, Ross Tatum gets put into the outside wall. The 21 heavily damaged as he'll lose momentum as we keep our eyes for our leaders. Trey Jackson's going to be moving forward. He's got Christopher Wade feeling good on the outside lane, and drivers are already over the radio saying a lot of apologies.
Oh no, that just went wrong for Ross Tatum, and major damage on the right front for him. He's going to be bringing it most likely to pit road this time, and he's going to come down the pit road pretty much all by himself. That's going to be pretty much no good for that 21 machine. He's going to be in a tough position here. He's going to be hoping to possibly get out with that pack that just pitted and get out back with them.
But if this race does not give a winning card to 21, he is still locked into the playoffs with his wins earlier in the season. So his night, it might not be going the way that he wants, but he could still help out his teammates if needed. As Trey Jackson, Christopher Wade, if you want a driver behind you, proven last season, Christopher Wade is the man you want to have behind, as he helped out Ken Campbell get so many victories last season. He finally got, the help at the start of the season by Ken Campbell. And here they come, the 53 and the 15, Zach. They finally get in line.
Here they are, Sam. Finally, it took 53 laps almost for them to get hooked up. But this is what they've been looking for all race long. And look at that, immediately Wade to the lead. Campbell right on the back bumper. They got Bustle right behind him along with Medlin. We'll see what they elect to do. Do they hold the middle groove? For now, they do as they come out of 2. But the 2 teammates who have dominated the super speedways here at Stars and Stripes now in control of the race.
And as they're trying to get in line and get everyone ahead so that you can maximize the speed, because you're going to have drivers that have already made pit stops trying to ramp up and pull away and have the best runs that they can. And as our leaders continue to race as hard as they can, pit stops still going to be in the minds. But for our leaders, they don't have to come into pit road immediately. They can still stretch this fuel out for another 10 laps, if not 12. They're still going to be in a pretty good situation, but they still need to make that pit stop, Zach. And you kind of touched on it, the quickie stop that could be in the mind of these drivers that are out on track that haven't pitted yet.
That it might be, Sam. And another issue on pit road, Cameron Sarton. He goes 2 laps down here and is just leaving the exit of pit road now. So Sarton in the 94, who will lead and punch of laps in this race, now out of contention late in the going.
Also, we saw us go, no, Philip Chavez making contact, and the big one strikes him for the drivers that have pitted. The 8, who comes up and causes the wreck, and oh no, the wreck we didn't want to see. That changes everything here.
And just like that, that changes the whole picture of everything, like you said there, Sam. And all those drivers hit pit road. If they made it through, they're in a good spot because they're going to cycle to the lead, but you got involved in that wreck. That's not what you wanted to be involved in.
And he's going to take a tow for the 8 machine, and he had lost touch to his teammates, who I believe were also kind of losing ground to the lead position. And now for the 8, His hopes of trying to win and make it in the playoffs will be snuffed out. As gonna see, that's the aftermath. Initially came up into that of the 20 of Derek Offerman, and that was the chain reaction wreck, and then just was hard to control this 8 as he was flopping all over the place.
Yeah, man, he just came up into the 20. The 20 really nowhere for him to go, Derek Offerman. And from there, Timmy McNally got caught up in that in the 88 machine, and it just all broke loose there down in the 3, and a bunch of drivers involved in that one there. Brian Chu, Jason Gratton, Nate Lynch, a little bit of damage from it. So definitely a lot of drivers involved, and also Philip Chavez having to tow that car to pit road.
See there, the 4, and he's going to be spinning around and blinking his way into pit road. And because of all the drivers that have already come into pit road, they're going to be finding themselves going to have the track position to be up front now, which that almost fits perfectly for Cameron Sarton and others, except for the fact that Sarton is going to be 2 laps down for himself, as many of the other drivers are going to be trying to ramp up into pit road to the majority of the field that did not pit. And it's time, Zach, for a little bit of a less than 20 lap dash to the end, which for some that have done iRacing, you ran officials, you've done what we call carburetor cup races, we're now into that zone of anything and everything potentially happen here.
Yeah, no green flag stops needed anymore. This is just an all-out race to that checkered flag, and you never know. We got 19 to go. We may need more than that. So Talladega always has a bunch of surprises around the corner, but that caution there in the middle of that sequence definitely shook things up. And look at this, it's going to give Thomas Ogle, I believe, in that 83 to lead out front. So he's going to like that. He's going to get a bonus point at least for leading a lap there, and that'll at least help maybe pad that that cushion there he's trying to build on Kyle Bolin.
And now going to be finding himself with the run of up front. And now Zach is kind of tally up where the teammates are. Ken Campbell, Christopher Wade, they will be 5th and 6th, but they're going to be side by side with one another on this restart. Everyone else in this field, they're now going to have to be searching for teammates, with that of Philip Chavez and Cameron Sarton both being multiple laps down and kind of out of contention. Now you look at the 10 of Chris Essery, he is on his own up front, and without his teammates, it's kind of difficult to say how dominant the 10's going to be running, and it might turn into who is he going to help and assist here. As see, moving onto our screen, it's our merch for tonight. Hey, if you'd like to get yourself some fancy Freaky Fast Broadcasting t-shirts, hoodies in different colors and sizes that fit you, well, go check out our merch store today, as there are some great products to be found. I've got myself a Freaky Fast Broadcasting t-shirt. It fits fantastic, feels great, and to make sure that you are set for your great merch whenever you go out to the tracks or if you're racing today.
Yeah, definitely got some great merch there, Sam, and I tell you, if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do, folks, because I got the link out there also in the chat, not only that into our description also, but we also got another great sponsor out there that we haven't talked about yet. And last but not least here tonight, it's the Admin Box, folks. One of the best button boxes out there for sim racing, that not only gives you the driver functionality that most button boxes in sim racing do, but this one gives you the admin functionality that will help control races and give you full control of any iRacing hosted race or race that you're going to host. So make sure you go out there and check them out at adminbox.com and use our discount code FFB/BOXX to get a discount at purchase, to have race control at your fingertips, and check them out.
As the drivers are getting stacked up, a few of them having to use their fast repairs after being involved with those wrecks and also some contact under pit road. 33 of Brian Burchett going to be in 16th place, going to have to use their fast repair. Zachary Kreitz back in 18th place using a fast repair. Ross Tatum, who we saw smack the wall under the green flag run, he is going to use his fast repair. And finally, Derek Offerman, who of those that are on the lead lap, going to use his fast repair. And Aaron Hill, those caught up in that wreck, going to use a fast repair. Other drivers that are a lap down or more, Brian Chu in 30th place, 2 laps down, going to use their fast repair. And Philip Chavez in the 31, who took the tow, is back out on track using the fast repair. And now, Zach, I wouldn't say the last one was the big one just yet, as we still have over 27 drivers on the lead lap, and every single one of them still have an opportunity to win this race.
Yeah, I necessarily wouldn't call that last one the big one just yet either. So it's going to be fun to see here who can pull this off here tonight with 18 coming to 17 to go here. I mean, still plenty of opportunity left. Like you said, 27 cars on that lead lap. So plenty of options still left. And when there's plenty of options still left, that means there's plenty of wrecking that can happen here at Talladega. So we may not be done with that, or we may see a barn burner here down to the very end to get who can get into the playoffs and figure out who our top 12 will be fighting for a championship starting next week.
Well, if you got friends and family that want to check out and see what the drivers are doing, well, you better share the stream now because we are into the danger zone. Who is going to get the win? Who's making the playoffs? It's time to find out. It's Thomas Ogle already taking off, it looks like. And that's going to be an odd time to take off, as that's going to change up a lot of things. He cannot duck down until he gets across the line, in a complete change-up of how the front runners are going to go. They're going to be split up, and Zach, this means massive runs are about to strike for our front runners.
Yeah, you see all this separation between the field. Big runs and big drafts are about to be happening here, especially starting here off of turn number 2. When we come back to the start-finish line, I imagine this field will start to be already packed up. And look at this already. That second group going to jump out there. Ken Campbell, Christopher Wade, Andrew Medlin jumping to the top lane. And now they're going to look to challenge Thomas Ogle.
I mean, if anything, that helped out Ken Campbell and Wade the most out of all of that situation. And if you're Thomas Ogle, you're like, all right, go. One of you guys win this race, and I'm all right with that, because then I know I'm for sure into the playoffs. But do not let Andrew Medlin win. Otherwise, I might find myself being knocked out.
Yeah, that's got to be a weird position. You know, you would like for someone who's already won in a race to go out there and get another one, but that's how us drivers think when it comes to making these playoffs. He knows how close it could be when it comes to points, especially Kyle Bowling still very much in the mix back there in the 16th position, and only 7 points separating those two coming into tonight. So anything's still available if someone does go out there and get that victory. But right now, definitely liking what they're seeing with Ken Campbell out front. But right here, you also got that 12 and that 36 who could possibly play spoiler.
And also got your eyes on the driver that was just outside of that 13th in points coming into tonight. That of Dylan Grimm, 12th position, currently on track. He's just lurking and waiting behind the 31 of Trey Jackson on that outside lane. They're sitting, waiting, and not sure when to pounce. And I think that's going to be the most difficult thing. When you got teammates in front, they are going to stick with one another. If you're going to make a pass, you got to trust that you've got a driver behind you, if not a couple of drivers. They're going to attach to you and start to move forward together.
And again, we're starting to see this second lane be the way to go. The middle lane has just seemed like these drivers have felt the most confident there. And I can tell you, 2 nights in a row, that is what I've seen at this racetrack. So very interesting to see that playing out, as well, that back half of this group was getting a little bit mixy there with the bump and going down the back straightaway, but they hold on to it. And what they've done also is open up a gap to this second group back here. And it's really being led by Sam Siegel there in that 48 machine, about 4.8 seconds back. So they got some hurt cars in there, but also some drivers like Derek Offerman who need to get themselves up there and go get a victory.
I don't even think that this is the worst situation for Sam Siegel in that second group. They might be 5 seconds, almost 6 seconds back from our leader. But if they continue to stay where they're at, with the way that our front runners are racing, I would not say this path that we see on screen is out of this race just yet. But certainly if they decide to wreck each other, then that's not how you want this little stint to go. As a couple of drivers in this group have already used their fast repairs, they've got to be careful. But the strategy in mind is to fall back, keep the drivers in front of you, stay on the lead lap, and let that lead pack wreck each other so you're there at the end.
It could very well play out that way. Super Speedway racing, you never know what strategy is going to be the best one. Stay up front and race hard, or get out back and get away from the action. And right now, like you said, they just don't want to end up in a wreck themselves, so they got to be careful back here racing hard and keeping it clean, because if that group does wreck up ahead of them, they need to be able to have enough time to slow down and not get into each other to cause any incidents, because all it takes is one small incident up front and everybody could be involved in that, and they could be sitting in the very position, like you said, Sam, to win this thing.
We almost saw an incident up front. That's the 7 of Cal McCoy stuck in the middle, almost getting involved with Dylan Grimm. Grimm was attached to the front 6 drivers, but they all pulled down in the middle lane before the 23 was completely clear, and he'll be the lone driver on that 3rd lane. He'll fall all the way back to the end of the line. Once was up to 7th, now place him back to 20th.
Tough break for Dylan there, but he's going to have plenty of time still with coming to 12 laps to go to get this done. He cannot get too down on himself yet, as Thomas Ogle leading that inside lane just hasn't been able to keep themselves forward. They've been slowly dropping back as, again, that middle lane showing dominance. I'm just waiting to see who's going to be the first driver, though, to duck out to that 3rd lane and try to make the very top work. I think we might see some patience here as drivers know how dominant that middle lane has been. They may be waiting here for that right moment to jump up to that very top side.
It's all on who wants to try to be the hero too soon and cause the big one in the early going, or do you wait until that white flag? If you're someone deeper in the field, your last time to really start to take off might be with 5 to 3 laps to go, and then everyone up front, they are just banking on surviving until we see that white flag, which, Zach, on iRacing, there is no yellow flag thrown in the white flag. When the white flag is out, the beating and banging, you can wreck drivers for the win. Now, it might not be the admins giving you the win, but you certainly can do anything and everything to make sure you're the first driver across the line.
Yeah, once that white flag is thrown, anything goes from that point. Whoever gets back to the line is the winner. So it makes things interesting, no doubt, when you have those scenarios where we could, it happens a lot. When you get to Daytona, Talladega, you get that white flag, most likely there's going to be some type of incident either going down the back straightaway or even sometimes going into turn 1. I mean, it's very likely to happen when you get those white flags with people really going for those last few moves, knowing that race is racing to the end. And you can already see here when we come into 10 to go, it's starting to look like 3 wide action is starting to heat up as Ross Tatum leading that outside lane, and look who's behind him. It's Dylan Grimm.
Here they come. That surge on the 3rd lane. Going to be moving forward. Ross Tatum going to be having Dylan Grimm, Scott Rickard, that as well. Here comes the 44 of Kyle Bowling as he'll now be ahead of the 80, that of the 83. And now the issues start to pile in for Thomas Ogle in his mind. Will he be able to get back in front of the 44 and have enough positions so just in case a driver that is eligible for the win and you're in if they win this race, could be bumping out that of Thomas Ogle from the playoffs?
Oh, the nerves are picking up right now, no doubt, as these drivers know what is on the line. Coming out of 4, going to be coming to 9 to go this next time by. Ross Tatum leading the way, and it looks like Will Bustler, that 36, he's going to jump down low, but I'm kind of surprised by that because I think he really got no help down there as that inside lane is just deteriorating.
It is completely gone, and now it's just a wait and loom. And instead of seeing potentially that Will Bustler go up to that 3rd lane, he'll drop to the inside spot, and he's got to trust that the drivers can all get in line, but you need a lot more help to make that inner groove work, or you just need to get in line and hope that you can find a surge as that 2nd pack. I think they're also starting to get the nerves of there might not be a yellow. We got to get in line, and that's exactly what they're doing from Dylan Glass on back. They're in single file lane, but they're still losing time to our leaders.
That they are, and I tell you what, the 3 teammates on the middle being led by Ross Tatum, King Campbell, and Christopher Wade, just not enough because Scott Rickard, he is pushing lights out to the back of that 23, and I don't know how much longer he'll be able to keep that up with the temperatures on these race cars because he has been glued to the rear end.
And luckily for that 05, though, Zach Kreitz is giving a little bit of space. So if the 05 needs to back off like he's doing now, he had that timing. And good call by that Zach Kreitz to give that space instead of riding right on the bumper of the 05.
Here we go down the back straightaway. This is where you've seen the big runs happening, but the wiggling is coming to that back of that 23 from the hits from that double or that 05 machine. And it's really making things interesting as now the inside lane's starting to come back. Thomas Ogle with the help of Will Bustler, they're starting to charge for it as now it looks like King Campbell going to try to drop down and stop that run as here they come.
Thomas Ogle makes the move, but it's going to be Ross Tatum and as well as Ken Campbell going to be dropping to that inside lane, leaving Christopher Wade in the middle all on his lonesome. They don't have the speed. They don't have the momentum. It's going to be Dylan Grimm. Scott Rickard going to be on that outside lane. Dylan Grimm, he found himself last season, Zach, on the inside. He was in the bubble position of 12th in points, but he pushed that Derek Offerman to the win, which knocked him out of the playoffs. Here tonight, he's got a driver that is already locked in. Scott Rickard behind him, and the 23, all he needs to do is stay high, go as fast as he can, and hope that he can get this win to move on to the playoffs and get redemption for last season.
He's in a good spot. If you want to be anywhere that is the more defendable position is, oh, look at this, Ken Campbell. He saw the run coming from the bottom lane. He jumps out from behind his teammate Ross Tatum, and he gets the big run here now. He'll have the chance. Does he move up in front of his teammate, or does he hold the bottom lane? Because right now, that top wall line has been the dominant way to go. Kyle Bowling now, he's seeing some aggression being taken out because he knows he's got to stay ahead of Thomas Ogle by 7 points.
He's got to stay ahead, but if we see the 83 or the 44 find themselves in victory lane, that's going to be helping both drivers make it to the playoffs. Now Andrew Hess going to be slightly drifting up that middle lane that was so dominant for the majority of this race. Now it's deteriorated away. Which lane will stay put? Which one will fall apart? And now the question looms, can they keep this straight for 5 more laps once they cross the line?
It seems like any lane that can just get the right pushers and the right timing, it works, because right now the bottom is starting to come back, and this is amazing racing we've been having here tonight, seeing all 3 lanes work. But now look at this Grim. He knows he's got to do something different. He drops a little bit lower on the racetrack, cuts the tri-oval there. Now heading down the 1, trying to make something happen, but that inside lane looks to be working well.
Make something out of nothing at this point. Do you have teammates that can work with you? Well, for that of Ken Campbell, not really. It's more defend and hope for the best, as he is going to be seeing that of Thomas Ogle behind. And Ogle, he's got some drivers that he can work with and feels comfortable. He's got his teammate of Andrew Hess that's going to be just behind that of Will Bustler. So really, it's a cue of when do we want to go, and that 83 and the 54 can both move up, and that 83 can get a massive push from Hess, but it's all going to be working on the timing as McCoy goes down low off the track and back in line. Luckily, no caution comes out.
Oh man, that was contact from behind that sent him down there. What a save from him. He gets back on the racing surface, but we keep it green here. 4 laps to go though, and now everybody transitioning to the bottom. This is just amazing to see the flip-flop from lines here all night long.
I think it's more so of, all right, let's get in line, single file, find your teammate, and then let's go. As Andrew Hess pops up and going to be seeing a little bit of helpfulness from Thomas Ogle. Ogle wants to help his teammate out, but there's just not enough trust, and Ken Campbell actually going to give the assistance. Here comes that middle lane once again.
Here they come, Sam. This is getting interesting. Ogle back to the bottom. Campbell looks to cover it off, and now Hess all up there by himself, but he's going to have Trey Jackson coming from behind, but I don't know if those drivers are going to stick with him. They're going to have to look to make the move around him. They do, but it's going to slow that group down, as now it's going to be 4 wide.
4 wide, cross the line, 3 to go here at Talladega. Who's making that of the playoffs? This is the Talladega 200, the final race of the regular season. Ken Campbell, he is feeling good, but Thomas Ogle, Will Bustler, and many others are trying to see, can they find themselves in the victory lane and be the 10th different driver this season to do so. But the middle lane, it's being led by that of the 25 of Nate Lynch, and Lynch still has an opportunity. If that 25 wins, he'll put himself into the playoffs.
Daddy will, Sam. You got the 36 also right there. Will Bustler 3rd. You got Dylan Grimm in the 23. Kreitz there in that 46. It's really any man's game here. What run will come? They're coming to 2 laps to go, and Ken Campbell in control of the field, but I think you're going to have a lot of drivers looking to make moves.
If we get the white flag, the race becomes official. If we get a yellow, we go into overtime, where we'll only have 1 attempt at overtime. We are getting the charge, but further on back, drivers are wrecking in that second pack, but we keep our eyes up front because Ken Campbell, Thomas Ogle, they got to figure out how do they defend. Here comes Dylan Grimm on that 3rd lane, the 23 trying to make the charge as Kyle Bulling gets into the wall. The 44 cannot deal with this damage.
No, the 44 can't lose too many spots, and he's losing a lot right now in that third lane. And right now, Dylan Grimm, he had the 05 who pushed him so well earlier in the race. Now Will Bustle jumping out to the outside of 83. Here they all coming to the tri-oval as they're going to be looking to take that white flag.
They're trying to get the white flag. Again, if we get that, this race becomes official and the gloves are out. You can wreck whoever you want, and it's all about getting it across the line. The freaking fast white flag is in the air. Will Bustler against Mike Campbell. Here we go. This is it, Zach. Who's winning and heading to the playoffs?
One final lap to decide who's going to make it all. Kreitz here looking to get to the outside of Campbell. Campbell looking to cover it up, but Grimm's going to be there with the 23. Who's going to have it down the back straightaway? It's a dead even heat, but the 46 has the run, and the 05 and the 23 looking to pull forward. But here comes Nate Lynch.
They're going to be finding themselves 2, 3 wide. It's going to be that of Zach Kreitz. Going to be finding himself defending 3 different lanes. Nate Lynch on the inside trying to get the momentum. He loses the spot. Here comes Ross Tatum. Also going to be Scott Rickard coming with the surge. Zach Kreitz loses it, loops in, rakes in. George Kovacic's coming, but here comes Scott Rickard. He can save for that Thomas Ogle Bullying. Here comes the surge. George Kovacic hoping for the pass, and it's going to be Scott Rickard at the line.
What a close finish. Kovacic comes from so far back, he almost wins the race, but Rickard going to win it all. Hess going to come back to third, Medlin fourth, and Campbell fifth. I mean, it was 4 wide for third.
And just like that, the 12 drivers that entered coming into tonight, they stay. Scott Rickard saves Thomas Ogle as well as that of Kyle Bowling. It looked like the way that he was finishing, Ogle was in a great spot until the wrecks came around. If that of George Kovacic found himself winning this race, oh man, heartbreak could have happened for drivers. But at the same time, Zach, it's Scott Rickard finally finding himself winning at an oval race. It's been only road courses for the last couple of seasons, and he finds himself right back to victory lane like he did back at the Clash.
That he has, man, and what a time to do it. This could be some great big momentum for him, and he had some great pushes there coming down to the end, and it all opened up there coming off of 4. And man, what a wild moment. I just can't believe Kreitz, he just lost it all by himself.
Yeah, that was that loose sensation we were talking about. Drivers were saying that they felt like there was a loose sensation that could cause you to get loose out of the corners. And Zach Kreitz, the nerves kicked in for a driver we talked about coming to the end of these races. He honestly fell apart there at the end, and it was a 05 who was aggressive. We talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, he might need that aggression to find yourself in victory lane, and it was there. But man, I can't wait to talk to these other 2 drivers. We got that of Andrew Hess, George Kovacic, and we'll be back for the post-race interviews to also talk to our winner of the 05. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show as we get to talk to our top three this evening. As well as you're going to see in the background, the last lap in slow motion after the chaos there. And Andrew Hess, who was all the way back in that around top 10 area, finds himself finishing third. So let's get our thoughts on how the 54 came away with a third place finish. Andrew, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Congratulations on third. I know you were wanting the win to find yourself potentially going for the playoffs, but still a third place finish in that madness. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully it looked good on the broadcast. I know it was pretty chaotic there in the car.
That it was, Andrew, man. I tell you, great run. So close to getting into playoffs here this season, man. Unfortunate that it seems like you're going to come up just a little bit short, man. But take us through there. That ending right there, that was so wild, and coming from pretty far back there to finish third.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I know going into the race, I had a lot of talk with the team about how we wanted to try to get me to win the race and Tom in the playoffs all at the same time. And I'm usually pretty good at the plate tracks. If you ask probably my teammates, they'd probably say I'm really lucky, but I think it's all skill. And I made the move early, and no one went with me, and I was kind of like, I guess I went too early, and I thought it was pretty much over at that point. And then when 15 kind of got hung there, and I was able to get along with him, and then we started flying through, and then they started wrecking and popped out, and there's third.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about that move early, we were talking about the booth, trying to figure out the timing wise. Was there a lot of communication between yourself and Tom on how you wanted to make that move, or was it just a pure trust of the drivers around you?
I'd like to say trust. I mean, we've been racing together for a few years now, so we kind of know what we want to do and when to do it. And then it would have been probably a little easier communication wise, but once the 36 got between us, it was kind of like on feel at that point. And then Josh trying to get the run up there, and then we kind of got separated a little bit, so it was tougher to really orchestrate anything like that as far as the team goes.
Well, Andrew, it was still an incredible run. Third place. Congratulations on that. And good luck heading into these next couple of races with the playoffs. But before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
I'll definitely always start with you guys. You guys do a great job broadcasting. Hopefully, we get you some good views with that race. And my teammates for help pushing there, Tom and Josh. They had a heck of a year, and we'll hopefully try and work out some good pit strategy for them in the playoffs.
That's going to be the 54 of Andrew Hess coming away with a third place finish this evening. Congratulations again, and good luck heading to Homestead next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we go from third place, we head to that of second with the driver that comes away with one of their best finishes ever in this series. We got George Kovacic with us. George, congratulations on your first top 10, first top 5, and our first interview with you. How are you feeling after that one?
I'm feeling pretty good. I've had nothing but computer and equipment problems for the past year or so, and I'm glad I'm back running where I'm supposed to be.
Well, George, I tell you, man, it was an excellent run there down to the end. You crossed the line in 18th, taking that white flag, man. Take us through that last lap, because that had to be wild, almost getting to the victory.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was explaining to my teammates, man, I just was in the back, and I went around the outside, and then all of a sudden I looked in my mirror, and there was a pile of cars. So I just stuck my foot in the gas and went.
Well, George, I mean, this was a wild race, but man, this has got to be some great momentum for yourself, especially with the way that you've been performing with this next gen car. We got 5 more races left in the season. How are you feeling about your finishes that you could potentially be having for the rest of the go?
I'm just glad to be back racing. Like I missed the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 races for a couple of weeks there, and just glad to be back racing. And wherever it ends up, it ends up. That's all good with me. I'm just glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Shout out to you guys. I watch the broadcast every week after the race. You guys do a good job. It's always fun to watch. So there you go. There's my shout out.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's going to be the 65 of George Kovacic coming away with a second place finish here this evening. Congratulations on that, and good luck heading to Homestead next week.
Yeah.
As we go from second place, we find ourselves going to victory lane to find ourselves with the season 2 champ. Scott, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on this win. Man, give us your point of view on those last couple of laps because it was chaotic from our point of view.
I was just trying to go as far to the front as I could every time at the end. Just in case there was a caution, or if there wasn't, I want to be up there for last lap. And it somehow all worked out for me.
That it really did, Scott. I tell you what, man, big victory here. Second one of the season. Now on a 4 top 5 race streak here for yourself. So that's big momentum heading into the playoffs. But I gotta kind of ask you about this is, tonight we've seen the lines really be very interesting. It'd be the bottom line would be very good for a moment, the middle, then the top. What was your preferred groove? We've seen you up top for most of the night. How did you feel that top worked?
I feel like I was in every line at some point, just trying to figure out what to do. I think I about wrecked off 3 times in the first run there, and I just went, okay, I'm going to the back. I don't want to wreck in front of the field, and just trying to time it to be in the front again after that.
And that makes sense. And Scott, we're now heading into this whole entire regular season's done after tonight. We're heading to the playoffs. What is your mindset trying to move from this first round to the next?
Just probably not being wrecked like I typically get into when it comes to the playoffs. I usually get wrecked at least one of them. It usually makes the next one in that round really hard to do anything but just try to get the points for them to move on.
Well, Scott, before we let you go, the floor is yours for your usual shout-outs.
Everybody at the team and Badog.
That's going to be Scott Ricker getting himself a win here this evening at Talladega. Congratulations on your second win this season, and good luck heading into the playoffs.
Thank you.
As we go from victory lane to that, looking at the racing results, what a race we had here tonight, Zach. Our traditional Talladega and Super Speedway runs where it was pretty calm until the storm blew up at the very end. As see that as Scott Ricker, George Kovacic, Andrew Hess being your top 3, as well as Andrew Medlin in 4th, Ken Campbell, Trey Jackson finishing out your top 6, Brandon Pierce, Doug Pierce going to be 7th and 8th, Kyle Bowling going to be 9th, and that of Chris Essery going to be that of 10th place.
Yeah, and then you look there at 11th, man. Dylan Grimm just coming up short there of that victory that he needed to get himself in, and was involved in that late race incident there. But as you look through the rest of it, you got to look back there at the Ogle and really making it in that 83. He's going to be so glad that someone didn't get a victory to put themselves into that thing, because he could have been easily knocked out there with Bolin finishing ninth. So Thomas Ogle luckily going to skate in there with that 12th position in the points, but it's going to be very, very nice for him.
Yeah, it's got to be feeling fantastic for themselves with the way that this race all concluded. The 12 drivers that were into the playoffs will be making it into the playoffs. As we have talked about our 9 drivers that have found themselves into victory lane, well, we'll stay with the 9 different drivers this season. And those drivers going to be making it and racing in the playoffs. That of Joshua Robinson, Chris Essery, Brandon Pierce, Ken Campbell, that of Cameron Sarton, Ross Tatum, Kyle Bowling, as well as going to be that of Kyle McCoy, Thomas Ogle, and Scott Ricker. Dylan Grimm not able to make it in, sadly, because he doesn't have any wins. He gets pushed out with that of Christopher Wade going to be taking that slot in as well. Jason Grattan with his win will make it in.
What a stacked group, man. I mean, even the drivers on the outside that didn't make it in. I mean, you're looking at a lot of drivers that didn't make it in that could go out there and win some of these playoff races. So it's going to be a fun time to see, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see some more new winners late in this season and really shake up these playoffs, because that top 12, a very stacked group, but we still got other drivers out there that are ready to make some noise too.
An absolute crazy regular season with so many different chaotic moments. And like you see on screen, this was the race out of 4, the chaos, the madness, and all of the crazy. And I do want to give clarification. George Kovacic was not eligible to make the playoffs. So even if that of the 65 won, he would not have made the playoffs. So Thomas Ogle, and as well, going to be happy to see that at least 2 drivers were in the top 2 that would have, if they won, he was making it to the playoffs. But man, what a crazy end to the regular season, and the playoffs now start next week at Homestead, where it's going to be 2 races for the first 2 rounds before we get to our final 4 that will race for a championship. And Zach, these 5 race playoff systems are head scratchers for us up at the booth, and even worse for the drivers.
Oh man, it'll it'll make you gain some years on your life, I feel like, as a driver. You gotta really, really go into each round just trying to keep the mindset of each race counts every time. So right here, starting off with Homestead, what a great track, first of all, started off. I can't wait to go there. Then you got Iowa, and that kind of adds in a little bit of a wild card there, short track racing style, there, and you could be caught up in some mix of stuff. So you need to start off Homestead with a bang, and if you can do that, then it could help your chances heading into Iowa. And if you can get that victory, that'll really help your chances so you can start preparing for that next round, because that second round, that's a scary one.
It is a very scary one. If you survive the first round, you head into the second round where they go to Dover and the new Atlanta, which is practically a super speedway track for themselves. And then the final four race it out at Michigan to see who will become the champion of season 5. And can we see Kyle McCoy, who is in the playoffs? Can he go for championship number 4? Could Scott Rickard go for championship number 2? Or could Cameron Sarton? Zach, what a redemption story that would be. He had to relinquish his spot for the Final Four race last season, and now he has an opportunity to get right back there.
That it would be a very great story to see him come back and get that chance, finally to fulfill that Final Four spot. But you got to get there first. So we'll see. He's got a lot of tough drivers to get through to get there. And then always you can't count out Kyle McCoy. When it comes playoff time, I think that 7 machine, we've seen it the past couple seasons. He's just turned into a different driver. So we'll see if he can bring back that clutch factor, as I was saying the last few seasons, and see if he can pull it off in these playoffs, because Homestead, I think, will be a good track to start off for him. And he's going to have some hungry competitors, though, that are going to be looking to add to the champions list here at Stars and Stripes.
Like most people are saying now, that 7 machine's got that dog inside of him that just comes out when it really matters. As I touched on in the middle of this broadcast, we are closing into the regular season for a lot of our different series that we cover here on Freaky Fast. And that includes the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, as we're going to be having tomorrow night off on Friday. Then we're going to be back for WSSR on Saturday, as they're going to be heading to Michigan. Then we get Sunday off, and we're right back to 4 days in a row, where we got the ISRC going to be finding drivers attacking in the Truck Series on Monday. Tuesday's the Full Send Racing Series and Xfinity Car. Then we're right back to the Next Gens for that of the Wicked Racing League on Wednesday. And right back here Thursday night, Zach, playoffs right around the corner, and so much great racing action we get to cover almost every day of the week.
That we do, Sam. And when the playoffs start, it's only going to get even more ramped up. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button to be notified when we go live each of these nights, then you need to do it, folks, because I'm telling you, right around the corner is our best racing yet, and you ain't going to want to miss it.
And again, as we've been doing for the last 2 months, even this month, as September comes to a close, hey, go back, look at our September broadcasts. Go look at all the finishes. If you feel like there's a finish that deserves to be in our top 5 finishes of the month, hey, go back, vote, say, hey, I think this might be a 3rd best. This might be a 4th best. This needs to be the number 1 finish of the month for September. Hey, put in the comments for those races. But for us here tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer, and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining us here this evening to give you coverage of the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. Again, got great racing action throughout the week, but these drivers, their regular season is done. Next week, Homestead, who is going to be marking their first stop for the playoffs and making sure that they're going in the right direction for a championship? We'll find out right here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For tonight, thank you again. Have a good one, and we'll see you Saturday night for WSSR.